Your world is not waiting to give you something. It is waiting for you to feel something. And until you feel it, it will not appear. This is the secret that most pass by without noticing, the quiet, radiant truth hidden beneath the noise of struggle. You do not need to have anything in order to feel it. You only need the courage to feel it before it comes. Everything you want, everything you long for already exists in the unseen. It is not something to be earned, chased, or begged for. It is something to be assumed. When you walk with the secret, you realize that the external world is only a reflection of the inner world. You stop chasing and start embodying. You begin to understand that the bridge to your desire is not built with effort, but with feeling. To act as if is to carry a divine knowing within you, one that contradicts appearances but aligns with truth. It is the bold declaration of your soul that says, I already am. Not because the outer world says so, but because your inner world has decided it. And the outer world must eventually conform. You see, desire is not placed in your heart to torment you. It is placed there because it is already yours. But the door is locked until you learn to feel, until you live in the emotional state of already having what you seek. Not someday, not when conditions change. Right now, this moment. You walk, breathe, and think from the end, not toward it. You dwell in the feeling of being cherished. You don't beg for success. You walk as one who already knows what it means to be abundant. The mind is the sculptor of reality, and feeling is the tool it uses. If you feel lack, you create lack. If you feel fulfilled, the universe responds with reflection. The secret is not hard. It is not hidden in rituals or complexity. It is simple. But only the bold apply it, because it demands faith in the unseen and loyalty to the unseen self. When you close your eyes and breathe in the feeling of already being who you wish to be, something sacred begins to move. You awaken a force that shapes the formless. You begin to radiate the energy of your future self. And that energy pulls the manifestation into form. You become magnetic to what was once distant. Not because you begged, but because you aligned. Not because you wished, but because you felt. And the world, it starts to shift. Subtly at first. A conversation here, an opportunity there, a door that was always locked suddenly opens. You're no longer confused because you understand the law. You're no longer desperate because you've stepped into peace. The world cannot give you what you already are, it can only reflect it. So when others wait, you become. When others hope, you assume. When others doubt, you feel. And this feeling becomes your foundation. The feeling of being already blessed, already chosen, already there. Nothing outside of you needs to change for you to feel wealthy, loved, healed, or seen. The moment you feel it, you have it. This is the ancient key that unlocks every door. Feel before you see. Act not as one who wants, but as one who knows. Speak not from lack, but from wholeness. Move not with fear, but with confidence. And every day, you return to that inner knowing. Even when appearances scream the opposite, you don't flinch, because you've seen the pattern. You've lived it. The delay is only illusion. The gap is only time's way of measuring your persistence. But time must bow to imagination. Reality must bend to feeling. You are not here to react. You are here to create. You are not here to wish. You are here to embody. This secret is not about pretending. It is about becoming. It is about awakening to who you truly are, long before the world has the courage to mirror. And the moment you feel it, not as a trick, not as a hope, but as a truth, the universe begins to move quietly, surely, in your favor. To understand the creative process of life, one must first grasp the central truth that feeling precedes manifestation. This is not just a poetic idea, it is a spiritual law, constant and unchanging, quietly operating beneath the noise of circumstances. Everything you see around you, everything that forms your physical world, began first as an unseen state. And what gave that state shape and power was not mere thought or idle wish. It was feeling. It is through feeling that man awakens creation. Not through logic, not through strategy, not even through effort alone. It is through the deep, quiet assumption that what is desired is already possessed. You cannot trick the universe with hollow declarations. You may say, I am wealthy or I am loved, but if you feel poor, if you feel unwanted, then you're sending out an energy that speaks louder than any words. The language of creation is not speech, it is vibration. And vibration is born from your emotional state. When you feel something, truly feel it, you are setting into motion a sequence of events that must bring it into form, not might, must. That is the law. This is why the world does not respond to what you ask for, it responds to who you are being in each moment. And who you are being is defined by what you are feeling. If you feel small, then life will reflect back circumstances that confirm that belief. If you feel abundant, regardless of what your bank account says, you will begin to see signs, opportunities, and doors open that reflect that abundance. The feeling is the key that unlocks the invisible to become visible. And this is where most fail. Not because they do not desire strongly enough, but because they do not feel deeply enough. They wait for the outer world to give them a reason to feel successful, to feel beautiful, to feel worthy. But this is a reversal of the truth. Life does not move from outside in, it moves from inside out. To feel successful when you see no success is not delusion, it is alignment. It is daring to live from a higher truth than what the senses report. This is not about pretending. It is about entering the state of being that matches your desire. To pretend is to play a role temporarily. To feel is to become it. And once you become something internally, you no longer question whether or not it is real. You know it. You feel it in your breath, in your posture, in your thoughts. It begins to flavor every word you speak, every decision you make. This inner change begins to attract outer change, not through magic, but through divine law. So many people try to change their lives by rearranging external pieces. They switch jobs, move cities, cut ties, start over, and yet the same patterns keep repeating. Why? Because the feeling remained the same. You cannot escape a state by changing scenery. You must change the energy you dwell in. When you learn to master the art of feeling the end, feeling the fulfillment, everything else becomes effortless. The struggle ceases not because life gets easier, but because you are no longer fighting against the current. You are flowing with it. Feeling is not weakness. Feeling is the fuel of creation. When you feel something as real, your subconscious accepts it as truth. And the subconscious, being the builder of reality, sets out to express that truth in form. It does not argue, it does not question. It simply creates what it is impressed with. And the impression is made through repeated, sincere feeling. If you wish to change your world, do not begin with action. Begin with inner alignment. Sit in stillness and ask yourself, what would it feel like if I already had what I desire? Not what would I do, but what would I feel? That feeling is your portal. That feeling is your secret access to the unseen realm of answered prayers. You must learn to dwell in that state, to carry it with you like a cloak. At first it may feel unnatural. Your senses may mock you. The world may laugh at your certainty. But do not be moved. The world is slow to catch up, but it always does. Just as the fruit follows the seed, your outer world will eventually bloom with the colors of your inner conviction. Do not underestimate small, consistent feelings. A single moment of deep, unwavering faith carries more power than 1,000 hours of forced action. When you truly feel that you are already healed, already free, already abundant, you no longer need to strive. You begin to rest, not in laziness, but in trust. This rest is not inaction. It is the highest form of activity because it moves mountains without effort, it attracts without chasing, it builds without burden. And understand this, there is no feeling that is off limits to you. No matter your past, your pain, your story, you can reach into the invisible and claim any state you choose. You can choose love over bitterness, peace over chaos, joy over fear. And once chosen, you can feel it. And once you feel it, you've already planted the seed. The harvest is inevitable. It may come through unexpected paths, but it will come. When you walk through your days, as if your desire is already real, something in you changes. You stop begging and start believing. You stop hoping and start knowing. And that knowing becomes the atmosphere in which miracles are born. It becomes the silent whisper to the universe that you are ready, not because you said it, but because you felt it. Living from the end is not a metaphor. It is the foundational shift that separates the dreamers from the creators, the hopeful from the fulfilled. It is the quiet internal act of stepping into the reality of your desire before it has taken shape in the physical world. When you live from the end, you are no longer seeking, no longer wishing, you are embodying. You become the version of yourself who already has what you long for. And in doing so, you collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be. This is the secret that transforms longing into reality. Not by force, but by feeling. To live from the end requires that you stop reacting to what your senses tell you and start responding to what your inner knowing reveals. The world may tell you that your desire is impossible. Your bank account may echo lack. Your relationships may reflect distance. Your body may feel broken. And yet you do not yield to these appearances. You look beyond them. You feel beyond them. You become blind to the visible and loyal to the invisible. This is the essence of living from the end, a sacred defiance of reality as it appears, and an unwavering trust in reality as it truly is. The moment you imagine your desire fulfilled and feel the satisfaction of it, you begin to shift timelines. You move out of the timeline of waiting and into the timeline of becoming. Most people live in a constant state of waiting for the right time, waiting for the right person, waiting for the right opportunity. But those who understand the laws of the inner world do not wait, they prepare, they assume. They occupy the feeling of the outcome now, and because they do, they bring that outcome closer with every breath. Living from the end is not about delusion. It is not pretending that something has happened when it hasn't. It is about assuming the emotional and mental position of your future self and allowing that state to dictate your thoughts, actions, and beliefs. The person who lives from the end does not ask, when will it come? They move through life as if it already has. They speak differently, walk differently, make decisions from a place of inner security. And this inner shift sends signals to the universe that rearrange the outer conditions to match. It is not easy at first. The world around you will tempt you to return to the old self, the self who reacts, who doubts, who fears. You will be pulled by habits, emotions, memories. But you must be stronger than your environment. You must remind yourself daily, sometimes hourly, that your job is not to fix the outside. It is to remain fixed in your inner assumption. The outer will reflect the inner, but only after the inner is established with persistence and faith. Imagine this: if someone gave you undeniable proof that your dream was going to come true in exactly 30 days, how would you live today? Would you panic, doubt, fear, or would you relax, trust, and begin to prepare? You would likely feel peaceful, excited, confident. That is the emotional state of the end. And the irony is, if you can access that state now without the proof becomes unnecessary, because reality has no choice but to conform to it. This is the divine paradox. You must act as though it already is in order for it to become. Most wait for the outer world to give them permission to feel joy, but true creators do not need permission. They give themselves access to the end through their imagination. And imagination, when fused with emotion, becomes creation. Not tomorrow, not eventually, now. Every time you return to the feeling of the end, you water the seed of manifestation. And just as a plant does not grow overnight, your desire may take time to bloom, but bloom it must if you remain loyal to the feeling. Living from the end also means letting go of needing to control the how. When you dwell in the state of fulfillment, you do not chase outcomes. You do not manipulate force or strive in desperation. You move in peace. Because you know, you do what feels aligned and you release what feels like struggle. This is not passivity, it is wisdom. It is alignment with a higher intelligence that knows far better how to bring your desire to pass than your limited mind ever could. There is great power in surrender. Not the surrender of giving up, but the surrender of trusting the process. When you live from the end, you stop asking how and start asking, who must I become? You become the person who already has it. Not later, not someday, now. That version of you thinks differently, feels differently, behaves differently. And as you live from that identity, the world begins to mirror it in ways that seem miraculous, but are in fact lawful. Every great achievement, every success story, every dream realized, began with someone who dared to live from the end. They spoke as if it was so. They moved as if it were done. And life, seeing their unwavering conviction, yielded to their inner reality. This is not arrogance. It is faith. Not blind faith, but creative faith. The kind that doesn't just hope, it acts. And the longer you stay in the feeling of the end, the more natural it becomes. What once felt like a fantasy begins to feel like home. You wake up thinking from the end. You go to bed in gratitude for what you have not yet seen but already received. And that inner climate becomes the soil in which the seeds of your desire take root and flourish. Your outer world must match the vibration you live in consistently. That is law. It cannot be otherwise. When the desire arises, it is not to torment you. It is a divine invitation to rise into a new identity, to step into the version of you who already has it. And the moment you accept that invitation and begin to feel the joy, the peace, the fulfillment of it, you begin to live from the end. The line between the present and the future blurs. Time bends, circumstances shift, people appear, resources come, not because you chased them, but because you became magnetic to them through your inner assumption. The presence of a true desire in your heart is not random. It is not a cruel temptation sent to taunt you, nor is it a signal of lack. It is evidence, divine, undeniable evidence, that what you long for already belongs to you in another realm. You would not crave something so deeply, so intimately, unless it was already yours in the unseen. The desire itself is proof of possession, not of distance. It is the whisper of your higher self reminding you that what you seek is already within reach. The problem is not that you don't have it, The problem is that you haven't yet felt its reality. Every desire that arises from your spirit is wrapped in sacred intention. You were not meant to suppress it, ignore it, or bury it in the soil of doubt. You were meant to water it with belief and allow it to unfold. You were meant to embrace it, not as a future event, but as a present reality that simply hasn't shown up in your physical space yet. The timing of the external means nothing to the truth of the internal. What matters is not whether you can see it yet. What matters is whether you can feel it now. When a desire stirs within you, it's not a signal to chase or struggle. It's a signal to become still and align, to match the frequency of what is already yours by stepping into the emotional atmosphere of having. The mistake most people make is believing that because something is not yet visible, it is not yet real. But that is a lie whispered by the senses. The senses do not create, they only report. Your imagination, your inner vision, your feeling, that is what creates. If you have a vision of a fulfilled life, a healed body, a beautiful relationship, or a purposeful career, and that vision comes with a sense of certainty, excitement, or longing, then it is yours. That feeling is not random. That emotional pull is not meaningless. It is the thread between dimensions, a connection between your current state and the reality waiting to emerge. But to cross the bridge between the seen and unseen, you must learn to honor the desire as if it is already fulfilled. You must respect the desire enough to feel its truth. Too often we deny our desires because we've been taught that wanting too much is dangerous, selfish, or unrealistic. But the truth is, your desire is a form of divine instruction. It's not your enemy, it's your compass. The key is to recognize that the moment you become aware of a true desire, you are simultaneously given the means to manifest it, not through effort alone, but through alignment, through feeling, through assumption. You do not need to beg the universe for what you already possess. You only need to assume the posture of the one who has it. When a person walks with a sense of destiny, the world takes notice. When they speak with the conviction of someone who knows their desire is theirs, doors open. This is not arrogance. It is spiritual clarity. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows the unseen is more real than what their eyes behold. Think of the countless dreams that die in silence, not because they were impossible, but because someone failed to recognize that the desire itself was proof. They waited for confirmation from the world, not knowing that the world was waiting for confirmation from them. Your external life does not lead your inner life. Your inner life leads your outer. When you feel the reality of your desire and move from that feeling, the outer world reconfigures to match your new state. The truth is, desire only torments those who ignore it. When you embrace it, when you believe in it, when you feel its fulfillment as present, it no longer hurts. It begins to uplift. It begins to guide. It becomes the thread that pulls you into alignment with who you truly are. Because every desire you feel is rooted in your higher identity. You do not desire randomly. You desire according to your deeper nature. That is why you must trust it. You must trust that you are not broken for wanting more. You are not greedy for seeking beauty, peace, love, or expansion. You are responding to an inner signal from a version of yourself that already exists, a version that is calling you home, a version that is not asking for your permission to exist, but your participation. You do not need to create this version from scratch. You only need to awaken to it, to feel it, to live in its presence. And this is the path of transformation. You shift not by fighting what is, but by feeling what is coming as if it has already arrived. You do not sit in lack and cry out for more. You rise into the emotional frequency of already having. And that is when the miraculous occurs. That is when time bends. That is when what was once impossible begins to unfold with graceful inevitability. When you feel the desire for something, say to yourself, "This is mine already. I'm only aligning with it now." Let that be your mantra. Let it soak into your bones. Let it rearrange the structure of your identity. You are not separate from your desire. You are one with it. The only task is to stop denying that truth and start feeling like the version of you who knows it. So instead of praying with desperation, pray with gratitude. Instead of visualizing as a wish, visualize as a memory. Instead of walking with uncertainty, walk with assurance. Let your inner world become so saturated with the end result that the outer world has no choice but to catch up. Feel it so deeply, so consistently that it becomes your emotional home, and from that home everything must come. Assumption is the hidden engine behind all creation. It is not just a mental activity, it is a spiritual law in motion. When you assume something to be true and let that assumption dwell within you long enough, it begins to mold your life into its likeness. Assumption is the invisible hand that rearranges people, events, and circumstances to reflect the state you have claimed internally. It doesn't require evidence or approval, it only requires persistence and belief. The moment you assume you are already what you wish to become, you begin to radiate a new vibration, and the world, without fail, responds to that signal. This is not about hoping or wishing or asking politely. It is about claiming, owning, being. When you assume, you bypass the slow and often contradictory reasoning of the conscious mind and step into the realm of faith, where imagination becomes the blueprint of your future. You act, not because you've seen the result. You act because you felt the result. You walk into a room not hoping to be chosen, but assuming that you are already valued. You wake up not dreading the day, but assuming that everything is aligning in your favor. And as you sustain this inner reality, the outer world must bend to reflect it. The beauty of assumption is that it doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't beg for signs. It declares that the end is already accomplished and moves in alignment with that truth. Even when the outer world resists, the inner world holds firm. And that inner firmness becomes the foundation upon which miracles are built. Most people live as victims of circumstances because they allow the world to dictate how they feel. But the one who assumes understands that the world is not the cause, it is the effect. Change the assumption and the outer conditions must follow. Assumption is not pretending. Pretending fades when challenged. Assumption deepens. It survives contradiction. It stands unmoved in the face of lack, of rejection, of delay. It is the knowing that even if nothing has changed outwardly, everything has already changed inwardly. And because the inner shapes the outer, what you have assumed will soon be what you are experiencing. You may not know how it will come, but the how is never your concern. The how belongs to life. Your task is to remain loyal to the end you have assumed. Every great shift in a person's life begins not with action, but with assumption. You assume you are no longer a victim, and slowly but surely the world stops treating you like one. You assume you are healthy, and even in sickness your body begins to respond. You assume you are loved, and love finds its way to you, often from places you never expected. It is not magic, it is law. And once you understand this, your relationship with life transforms. You stop fighting, you stop pushing, you start creating through being. Assumption is also the answer to resistance. When you assume your desire is already yours, you no longer fear delay, you no longer chase or plead. You become calm, grounded, unshakable. This calmness is not indifference, it is authority. It is spiritual maturity. You know that what you have claimed will come, not because of force, but because of alignment. And in that calm, you allow space for the answer to arrive. Often, it arrives when you least expect it, not because it was late, but because you finally stop doubting. The world you live in is plastic to your assumption. It takes shape according to what you believe about yourself. If you assume you are unworthy, life will reflect that. If you assume you are chosen, doors will open that others cannot even see. The difference between one person's reality and another's is not always in talent or background or effort, but in assumption. The inner claim becomes the outer form. The inner decision becomes the external destiny. So the question is not what do I want, but what am I assuming? Because your current assumption is your current creation. And if you don't like what you see, you don't need to fix the outside, you need to upgrade the assumption. Begin to see yourself not as someone trying to become, but as someone who is. Not as someone reaching, but as someone already living the outcome. Speak from that place, think from that place, move from that place. Even when no one else believes it, your assumption will speak louder than their doubts. Even when your senses report otherwise, your assumption will carry more power than what your eyes can see. And with time, consistency, and emotional investment, the world begins to shift. The impossible becomes possible. The unlikely becomes certain, not because life changed randomly, but because you did. Because you dared to act, not from the past, not from fear, but from the future you have already claimed. Assumption also brings with it a strange sense of joy. When you assume something is already yours, you begin to experience the emotional reward before the physical result. You smile without reason. You walk lighter. You trust deeper. This inner atmosphere of joy becomes a magnet, drawing to you the very thing you once believed was far away. And that joy is not fragile, because it is not dependent on evidence. It is rooted in inner knowing. There will be moments when your assumption is tested. People may mock your confidence. Events may seem to contradict your belief, but these are only echoes of the old state, trying to pull you back. Hold steady. Keep feeling the end, keep walking in it. The more you persist, the more those old echoes fade and the new reality takes root. And once it does, it becomes unshakable. You look back, and what once felt like fantasy has become your normal. When you understand assumption, you begin to walk through life with a different energy. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop fearing the future and start shaping it. You realize that your life is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Your inner state is the canvas, and assumption is the brush. What you paint with feeling becomes the world you wake up in. Faith is not merely a passive hope for something better. It is a living force, an active loyalty to the invisible. It is choosing to believe in the truth of your imagination when every fact of the outer world stands against faith. Faith is not a feeling that comes and goes with good news or favorable conditions. True faith is unshaken by appearances. It is a decision to remain aligned with the unseen reality of your desire, to hold steady in your inner conviction no matter what the outer world reports. It is not built on what you can touch, taste, or measure. It is built on the certainty that what you have felt in your imagination is more real than what you temporarily experience in your senses. Loyalty to the unseen is not blind. It is deeply aware that the physical world is only a shadow, a delayed echo of past assumptions. It is an awareness that your current experience is simply the harvest of seeds sown long ago in thought and feeling. So when you plant a new seed, a new vision, a new assumption, a new desire, you must give it time to take root in the unseen before it breaks through into visibility. This in-between stage, this space where nothing seems to be changing, is the realm where faith is tested and proven. Faith is the ability to walk through a reality that contradicts your desire and still claim that your desire is already fulfilled, not out of delusion, but out of deep inner knowing. This is the kind of faith that changes worlds. It is not loud or desperate. It is quiet but unwavering. It is not found in frantic declarations, but in calm, consistent being. You don't need to scream that it's yours. You simply carry the stillness of someone who already knows. There is a power in this kind of stillness, a magnetic pull that draws unseen forces into motion. Life begins to organize itself in ways you couldn't plan. The people, opportunities, and moments you need start arriving not because you chased them, but because you became aligned with them. Faith doesn't need to control the timing. It doesn't need to see progress every day. It knows that just as the seed pushes through the soil in silence, so too does your assumption unfold beyond your sight. When you maintain loyalty to the unseen, you are declaring that your inner world is the foundation of your life, not the outer. You are saying, I will not allow circumstances to determine my emotional state. And when you stop giving your power to appearances, appearances begin to lose their grip on your reality. You become the cause, not the effect. You stand in the center of your own creative power and act not from reaction but from decision. To walk in faith is to feel the outcome before it is visible. It is to wake up in the energy of fulfillment even if nothing has changed. It is to give thanks before the blessing arrives. This is not just a spiritual exercise. It is a reprogramming of your identity. The more you feel it, the more it becomes your normal. And the more it becomes your normal, the more the outer world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. And yes, faith will sometimes feel lonely. You may feel as if no one understands the reality you're holding inside. People may question your confidence, may try to tether you back to the visible world. But that's only because they live by sight. You have chosen to live by vision. And that choice places you in a different rhythm, a different flow, one that moves not by force but by harmony with something greater than logic. Faith is not about pretending you don't have doubts. It's about choosing not to serve them. It's about hearing the noise of fear but not obeying it. You can feel resistance and still remain anchored in your end. You can experience delay and still be certain. That's what makes faith powerful. It doesn't erase reality, it transcends it. And by transcending it, it reshapes it. The moment you decide to hold on to your assumption as truth, despite all evidence to the contrary, you begin to live from a higher law, not the law of sight, but the law of spirit. You begin to experience the joy of being before having, the peace of knowing before seeing, and that peace becomes your anchor. That joy becomes your guidance. You no longer look for signs because your feeling is the sign. You no longer wait for proof because your assumption is the proof. Every great shift in your life will require you to be loyal to something no one else can see. It will require you to walk alone for a while, to carry a vision that only lives within you. But if you carry it long enough, it will take form. The invisible always becomes visible when held with enough conviction. That is the law. That is the promise. Your role is to remain faithful, to continue feeling the end, to keep your mind aligned with your assumption, even when your senses scream otherwise. And when the world does finally catch up, when the thing you held in your imagination becomes the life you live, you will not be surprised. You will not marvel. You will simply smile because you knew. You knew the whole time. That is the reward of faith. Not just the manifestation, but the growth, the strength, the intimacy with your own creative power. It teaches you that you never needed anything outside of yourself to begin. You only needed the courage to believe, to assume, and to remain loyal to the invisible. Everything you desire is already yours. The only thing separating you from it is your belief. The moment you accept something as true within, the world must arrange itself to reflect that truth. There is no waiting, no hoping, no wishing, only assuming and knowing. You do not become successful. You already are. You do not strive to be wealthy. You already are. The world does not bring you what you chase. It mirrors what you are conscious of being. Right now, in this very moment, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Walk as though you are already the person you dream of becoming. Speak as though you have already received all that your heart desires. Carry yourself with the confidence of one who knows, not one who hopes. To act as though success is already yours is not pretense, it is creation. It is shifting your state of being to match the reality you wish to experience. If you see yourself as struggling, the world will prove you right. If you see yourself as lacking, the world will bring more lack. But the moment you shift your awareness, the moment you persist in the conviction that all is already yours, the unseen forces move to bring it into form. It is never about effort, it is about faith in the unseen reality that exists before your senses confirm it. Detach from the old self, the one who waits, the one who doubts. Step into the self that already has, already knows, already is. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction must align with this new awareness. Do not check for signs. Do not question how. The world responds to your inner state, and when you fully occupy the state of success, it must come to pass. To assume the feeling of success now is to embody the reality you desire before it materializes in the physical world. It is not about pretending or mere positive thinking. It is about fully immersing yourself in the conviction that what you want is already yours. You must not wait for external circumstances to confirm your success. Instead, you must carry the energy, confidence, and emotions of someone who has already achieved everything they desire. Imagine a person who has attained great success. How do they walk? How do they speak? How do they feel when they wake up in the morning? There is a certainty, a quiet confidence, an unshakable knowing within them. They do not move through life seeking validation or proof. They do not question whether they will succeed because, in their mind, they already have. This is the state of being you must adopt. Success is not something that comes to you from the outside. It is something you become from within. The moment you shift your state, the outer world must rearrange itself to match it. Your mind is the only reality. What you accept as true within yourself is what will materialize in your external world. If you believe you are successful, if you feel it in your bones, if you walk each day with the knowing that you have already achieved all that you desire, the world will respond accordingly. Your subconscious mind does not differentiate between what is real and what is imagined. It only accepts what you consistently impress upon it. When you assume the feeling of success, your mind begins to accept it as your natural state, and your actions, decisions, and circumstances align with that assumption. Many people make the mistake of thinking that they must first acquire something before they can feel successful. They believe that once they have the job, the money, the recognition, or the lifestyle, then they will finally feel like a success. But this is backward thinking. The truth is that you must first assume the feeling of success before the physical evidence appears. You must step into the version of yourself who already has what you desire. You must move with the confidence of one who knows that success is inevitable, not one who hopes for it someday. This is not about forcing yourself to act in a way that feels unnatural. It is about shifting your inner state to one of certainty and fulfillment. When you assume the feeling of success, you do not feel desperate. You do not feel anxious. You do not feel like you are chasing after something outside of you. Instead, you feel calm, centered, and assured. You know that what you desire is already yours in the unseen realm, and it is only a matter of time before it manifests in the physical. Think about an actor who is preparing for a role. They do not simply memorize lines and repeat them mechanically. They immerse themselves in the character. They feel what the character feels. They embody the character's emotions, thoughts, and reactions so deeply that they become that character for the duration of the performance. In the same way, you must fully immerse yourself in the feeling of success. You must not merely say, I am successful. You must feel it in every fiber of your being. You must walk, talk, think, and move as though success is already yours. One of the most powerful ways to assume the feeling of success is through imagination. Your imagination is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It allows you to experience your desired reality before it physically manifests. Every night before you sleep, close your eyes and see yourself living the life of your dreams. Feel the joy, the pride, the excitement of knowing that you have already achieved everything you desire. Make it as real as possible in your mind. The more you repeat this process, the more your subconscious mind will accept it as true, and the more your external world will shift to reflect this new reality. Another powerful way to assume the feeling of success is through language. The words you speak and the thoughts you entertain shape your reality. If you constantly affirm lack, struggle, and doubt, that is exactly what your life will reflect. But if you speak as though success is already yours, if you affirm your abundance, your confidence, and your achievements, your mind will begin to accept these statements as fact. Instead of saying, I hope I become successful, say, I am already successful. Instead of saying, one day I will have everything I want, say, I already have everything I need. The more you affirm your success, the more your subconscious mind will align with this truth. Your actions must also align with your assumption of success. If you truly believe you are already successful, you will not hesitate. You will not procrastinate. You will not doubt yourself. You will take inspired action because you know that success is inevitable. You will carry yourself with confidence because you understand that you are already the person you aspire to be. When faced with challenges, you will not see them as obstacles, but as opportunities to further embody your success. Your response to life will be different because your internal state has changed. Many people allow external circumstances to dictate their beliefs about themselves. They look at their bank account, their job title, or their current situation, and let those things determine their sense of worth and success. But this is a mistake. The outer world is only a reflection of past assumptions. If you want to change your reality, you must first change your inner world. You must hold firm to the assumption that you are already successful, regardless of what your current circumstances may suggest. When you persist in this assumption, reality has no choice but to conform. Doubt will try to creep in. Your mind may resist at first because it has been conditioned to believe in struggle and effort. But you must persist. You must remind yourself daily that you are already successful. You must hold on to this feeling, no matter what happens around you. When you do, you will begin to notice subtle shifts. Opportunities will appear. The right people will come into your life. Situations will unfold in your favor. It will seem as though the universe is rearranging itself to bring you exactly what you have assumed. But in reality, it is simply reflecting your inner world back to you. The key is to remain faithful to the feeling of success. Do not let doubt pull you back into old patterns. Do not allow temporary setbacks to shake your confidence. Remember, your assumption is the creative force behind your reality. If you assume success and persist in that assumption, nothing can stop it from manifesting. You do not need to chase, force, or struggle. You only need to assume, believe, and allow. The more you practice this, the more natural it will become. Eventually, success will feel like your default state. You will no longer question whether you are successful, because you will have fully embodied that reality. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions will all align with this truth, and the world will have no choice but to reflect it back to you. The world you experience is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. Every thought you persist in, every feeling you nurture, and every belief you hold is mirrored back to you in the form of circumstances, events, and people. Life does not happen to you. It happens through you. Your external reality is shaped entirely by what you assume to be true about yourself and the world around you. The moment you shift your inner state, the outer world must respond in kind. Many people believe that they must wait for circumstances to change before they can feel differently. They think that if they acquire wealth, then they will feel abundant. If they find love, then they will feel worthy. If they reach success, then they will feel confident. But this is an illusion. The world does not dictate your emotions dictate your world. What you accept as true within yourself is what will inevitably be projected onto the screen of your reality. Imagine a person who constantly feels unworthy and doubtful. They walk through life expecting rejection, failure, and disappointment. Their posture reflects insecurity, their tone carries uncertainty, and their actions stem from fear. Because they assume this state of being, the world responds accordingly. People treat them with less respect, opportunities seem to evade them, and they attract circumstances that validate their belief in their own inadequacy. The world is not against them, it is simply reflecting their own assumptions back to them. Now imagine someone who carries themselves with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are valuable, successful, and deserving. They do not wait for external proof to feel this way, they assume it first. Their posture is strong, their voice is certain, and their actions come from a place of knowing rather than hoping. As a result, the world reflects this belief. People respect them, opportunities gravitate toward them, and success unfolds naturally. Their reality is not shaped by luck or chance, but by the state they have chosen to occupy. Every person, situation, and event in your life is a reflection of what you hold true within yourself. If you believe that the world is full of scarcity, you will experience lack. If you believe that people cannot be trusted, you will encounter deception. If you believe that success is difficult and requires struggle, you will find yourself facing endless obstacles. But if you shift your inner world, if you assume abundance, trust, and ease, then life must mirror these assumptions. Your subconscious mind is always listening. It does not judge whether a thought is good or bad. It simply accepts whatever you repeatedly impress upon it. If you constantly dwell in thoughts of fear and limitation, your subconscious mind will accept these as instructions and shape your reality accordingly. But if you consciously choose thoughts of confidence, success, and abundance, your subconscious mind will rearrange your external world to match those beliefs. This is why it is crucial to guard your thoughts and emotions. You must become aware of what you are assuming, because those assumptions are creating your life. If you find yourself in undesirable circumstances, do not look outward for the cause, look inward. What have you been assuming? What feelings have you been dwelling in? What beliefs have you been reinforcing? The world is simply responding to the reality you have been holding within. The moment you change your inner world, your outer world must follow. If you want to experience more love, assume that you are already deeply loved. If you want to attract financial abundance, assume that wealth is already yours. If you want to succeed, assume that success is inevitable. Do not wait for evidence, assume it now. Your reality will rearrange itself to reflect your new state of being. Some may argue that this is unrealistic, that you cannot simply assume something and expect it to happen. But look at your life now. Everything you have experienced up to this point is a result of what you have unconsciously assumed to be true. The relationships you have, the opportunities you receive, the challenges you face, these are all reflections of your inner state. Whether you were aware of it or not, your assumptions have shaped your world. The key is to take control of this process and consciously choose what you want to experience. When you persist in a new assumption, the world will initially resist. Old patterns may try to reassert themselves. Doubt may creep in. Circumstances may seem unchanged, but you must remain faithful to your new inner state. If you continue to hold the assumption of success, even when the world appears unchanged, eventually reality will shift. The world has no choice but to conform to the dominant state of being you occupy. Consider the example of someone who is striving for financial success. If they constantly worry about money, stress about bills, and believe that wealth is hard to attain, they will remain in a state of lack. Even if they work tirelessly, their inner state of scarcity will continue to manifest in their reality. But if they shift their inner state, if they assume the feeling of financial abundance, if they carry themselves with the confidence of someone who is already wealthy, if they truly believe that money flows effortlessly into their life, their external reality will begin to reflect this new belief. Opportunities will arise, ideas will flow, and wealth will find its way to them in ways they could not have predicted. The world is not separate from you, it is an extension of you. You do not need to force things to happen or struggle against circumstances. You simply need to shift your inner state, and the world will adjust accordingly. This is not wishful thinking, it is the law by which reality operates. If you want to transform your life, begin by changing your assumptions. Each morning, before you step into the world, decide what reality you wish to experience. Hold the feeling of your desired state as if it is already true. Walk with the certainty that everything you seek is already within you. Speak with the confidence of someone who knows that life is unfolding in their favor. Think, feel, and act from the version of yourself who already has everything they desire. The process is simple, yet it requires discipline. The mind will attempt to revert to old patterns. Doubts will arise. Circumstances may test your conviction. But if you persist, if you remain unwavering in your new assumption, reality must shift. It is law. Everything you see in the world is a reflection of what you assume within. If you do not like what you see, change the assumption. Do not fight the reflection, change the source. The world is a mirror, and when you master your inner world, you master your life. The feeling of having already achieved success is the key to manifesting it into your life. Everything in your reality is a reflection of your inner state, and the emotions you dwell in determine unfolds before you. Most people make the mistake of believing they must wait for success to feel successful, that they must see evidence before they can embody the state of achievement. But this is entirely backward. The outer world does not create your inner world. Your inner world creates the outer. The feeling of success must come first. It must be cultivated within, nurtured and lived in before it is ever reflected in physical reality. Consider for a moment what it would feel like to already be successful. Close your eyes and step into that reality. Imagine the emotions that would fill your being, the certainty, the confidence, the satisfaction. How would you carry yourself if you knew, beyond any doubt, that your success was inevitable? How would you walk into a room? How would you speak? How would you engage with others if you were already living your dream? The feeling of success is not something you seek. It is something you generate. It is something you choose moment by moment before the world gives you any reason to believe in it. The mind is conditioned to look for evidence before accepting something as true. It wants proof. It wants reassurance. But the reality you experience is not dictated by what the world shows you. It is dictated by what you assume to be true. When you feel successful, even in the absence of external validation, you are aligning yourself with the frequency of success. You are preparing the way for it to manifest. Your emotions are not mere reactions to circumstances, they are the architects of your future. Think of those who achieve great things in life. They do not wait for success to knock on their door before they feel worthy of it. They step into their vision before anyone else can see it. They embody the feeling of their desired reality before it physically appears. They are not asking for permission from the world to succeed. They decide that they are already successful, and the world simply follows suit. When you assume the feeling of success, your actions begin to align with that reality. You naturally make decisions that reflect the person you have already become. Your energy shifts, your confidence grows, and people begin to respond to you differently. Opportunities arise, synchronicities occur, and doors open that once seemed closed. It is not because the world has suddenly changed, it is because you have changed. Your new state of being has altered the way life responds to you. Many people attempt to force success through effort alone, believing that if they work hard enough, struggle long enough, and prove themselves worthy, they will finally achieve what they desire. But effort without the right state of being is like trying to push a boulder uphill. It is exhausting and often fruitless. The true power lies in aligning your emotions with the success you seek. When you feel successful, work does not feel like struggle, it feels like an expression of the reality you are already living in. Actions taken from a state of success are effortless, natural, and infused with certainty. If you doubt this, look at your past experiences. Have there been moments where you felt completely certain about something and then it came to pass? Have there been times when you expected failure and failure met you? This is not coincidence. It is the law at work. Your emotions shape your outcomes. When you consistently dwell in the feeling of success, you set into motion events, people, and opportunities that must align with that reality. Doubt is the only thing that can disrupt this process. The moment you allow uncertainty to creep in, you begin to undo the state of success you have cultivated. Doubt is a signal to the universe that you do not truly believe in your success, and the universe will mirror that uncertainty back to you. This is why faith is so crucial, not faith in something outside of you, but faith in the reality you have chosen to occupy. You must persist in the feeling of success even when the world has not yet caught up to your assumption. You must hold firm to your inner state, knowing that it is only a matter of time before it externalizes. One of the most effective ways to cultivate the feeling of success is through imagination. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. If you repeatedly place yourself in the mental state of already having what you desire, your subconscious will accept it as truth. The more real it feels to you internally, the faster it will manifest externally. See yourself in your ideal situation. Feel it as if it were happening now. Walk through the world carrying the inner knowing that your success is inevitable. Another powerful tool is gratitude. When you express gratitude for your success before it has appeared, you signal to the universe that it is already yours. Gratitude is a declaration of possession. It affirms that you are not waiting for success, you already have it. Each morning before you go about your day, take a moment to feel deep gratitude for the success you are stepping into. Feel it so completely that you can sense the emotions flooding your being. Live in that state throughout the day and watch how the world begins to shift around you. Success is not something that happens to you. It is something you generate from within. It is not found in external achievements, wealth, or recognition. It is found in the state you choose to embody. When you assume the feeling of already being successful, you become a magnet for the experiences that align with that state. The world cannot help but reflect back to you what you consistently feel to be true. Many will hear this and dismiss it. They will say it is too simple, that success requires struggle, that reality does not work this way. But those who understand the power of assumption know that everything begins within. Those who have tested this principle know that when they shift their inner state, reality shifts with them. They do not wait for success to feel successful, they feel successful first, and success follows. You have the power to step into any reality you choose. The only requirement is that you assume it now, in this moment, before the world has given you any reason to believe in it. Do not wait for circumstances to change. Do not seek validation from the outside. Feel the success within you now, and watch as the world arranges itself to match your inner state. The outer world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting the assumptions you hold within. Every experience, every interaction, every so-called coincidence is a response to the beliefs and emotions you carry in your consciousness. Most people believe that reality is something separate from them, something they must react to, something they must control through force, effort, and struggle. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. The world conforms to your assumptions. It does not operate independently of you. It is shaped by what you expect, what you assume, and what you persist in feeling as true. Look at your life as it is now. Every detail, from your financial situation to your relationships, is a result of what you have unconsciously accepted as reality. If you have always believed that success is difficult, then difficulty has followed you. If you have assumed that people cannot be trusted, then you have encountered betrayal. If you have expected struggle, then struggle has been given to you in abundance. These are not random occurrences. They are the natural outpicturing of your internal state. If you desire success, you must first change what you assume about yourself and the world. If you continue to believe that success is out of reach, that it requires luck, that is reserved for others but not for you, then no amount of external effort stands there for circumstances. The world cannot give you what you do not believe to be possible. The moment you shift your assumptions, the moment you decide that success is natural, effortless, and already yours, the world must reflect that decision. This is not wishful thinking. It is not about merely hoping for a better future. It is about understanding the fundamental truth that reality is shaped by consciousness. What you assume to be true must be made manifest, not because of luck or external forces, but because that is the very nature of existence. The world has no choice but to mirror back to you what you believe with certainty. Think about those who achieve great success. They are not surprised by it. They do not see themselves as lucky. They have assumed success to be their natural state long before it became visible to others. They do not wait for evidence to believe in their greatness. They believe first, and the evidence follows. They do not beg for opportunities. Opportunities seek them out because their internal state has commanded it to be so. When you walk through life assuming that success is inevitable, everything begins to shift. Your posture changes, your voice carries confidence, your actions align with a person who already possesses what they desire. People respond to you differently. You no longer seek validation because you already know your worth. You no longer chase after opportunities because you understand that the right opportunities are drawn to you. You move with an unshakable knowing that the world is working in your favor, not because of external circumstances, but because you have assumed it to be so. Doubt is the only force that can disrupt this process. The moment you question your assumption, the moment you look to the outer world for proof, instead of trusting your inner reality, you weaken the very foundation upon which your success is built. This is why so many struggle. They allow their senses to dictate their beliefs instead of letting their beliefs dictate their senses. They look at their current circumstances, see a lack of evidence, and assume that success is still far away. But this is the mistake that keeps them stuck. The world is always catching up to your dominant assumptions. What you experience today is simply the result of what you believed yesterday. If you want a different future, you must assume differently today. There is no effort in this. There is no force involved. You do not have to fight against reality to change it. You do not have to convince others, prove yourself, or struggle to make things happen. The moment you embody the assumption that success is yours, the world must rearrange itself to match that assumption. This is law. This is not something that works for some and not for others. It works for all, but only those who persist in their assumptions will see it unfold. You must remain unwavering in your assumption even when the world has not yet caught up. If you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every day to see if it is growing. You trust the process. You know that with time it will sprout. The same is true with your assumptions. Assume success and do not waver. Do not look to the outside world for confirmation. Know that it is already done and persist in that knowing. When you assume success, you no longer act from a place of lack. You no longer approach opportunities with desperation. You no longer see challenges as obstacles, but as stepping stones. You begin to navigate the world with a sense of calm confidence, a quiet assurance that what is meant for you cannot be lost because it already exists within you. Most people think they must work harder, try harder, prove themselves, but all of this effort is rooted in the assumption that success is not already theirs. They believe they must earn what is already available to them. But the truth is, success is not something to be chased, it is something to be accepted. The moment you accept it as your natural state, the struggle dissolves. The moment you claim it internally, the world begins to shift externally. If you doubt this, test it for yourself. Assume something small. Assume that someone will give you a compliment today. Assume that you will hear good news. Assume that something unexpected will work in your favor. Do not try to force it. Simply assume it and carry on as if it were already true. Then watch as the world moves to confirm your assumption. When you see the results, you will understand that this principle applies to everything: success, wealth, love, opportunities. The world is not separate from you. It is responding to you. What you assume, you become. What you persist in feeling, you attract. The question is not whether this works, the question is whether you will dare to assume your success and persist in it, regardless of what the world temporarily shows you. Those who understand this truth do not wait for permission to be successful. They do not ask the world to approve their dreams. They assume their success as if it were already done, and by law the world must comply. The key to unlocking success is persistence. It is not enough to assume success once and then return to old patterns of doubt and fear. Assumption must become a way of being, a state of consciousness so deeply ingrained that nothing can shake it. Reality does not respond to fleeting thoughts. It responds to what you persist in feeling as true. This is where most people falter. They assume success for a moment, but when they see no immediate change in the outer world, they revert to their old assumptions of lack and struggle. This inconsistency keeps them trapped in cycles of disappointment, never fully realizing that their reality is simply reflecting their wavering beliefs. To persist in your assumption is to remain faithful to the unseen. It is to trust in the reality of your desire, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. The world is always playing catch up to your dominant state of being. If you persist in the assumption of success, even when nothing appears to change, the unseen forces of reality must eventually bring your assumption into tangible form. It is law. Most people give up too soon. They assume their success for a day, a week, perhaps even a month, but then they look around, see no evidence, and decide that it's not working. They allow external circumstances to dictate their inner state, rather than letting their inner state dictate external circumstances. This is the great misunderstanding. The world is not a separate force acting upon you, it is a reflection of you. If you persist in feeling successful, even in the face of apparent failure, then success must materialize. There is no other possibility. Persistence does not mean struggle. It does not mean force. It does not mean effort in the way most people understand it. True persistence is the quiet, unwavering faith that what you desire is already yours. It is the ability to walk through life with the knowing that success is inevitable, even when your senses suggest otherwise. It is the refusal to entertain any thought that contradicts your assumption. This kind of persistence requires discipline, not the discipline of action, but the discipline of thought. The greatest challenge you will face is your own mind. Old beliefs will try to creep back in. Doubts will whisper that you are being foolish, that nothing is changing, that you must return to the old way of thinking. The world may temporarily show you evidence that contradicts your assumption. People may question you, circumstances may appear unchanged, and your past experiences may try to pull you back into familiar patterns. But none of this matters. It is all an illusion, a final test of your persistence. If you can remain steadfast in your assumption despite these tests, you will witness reality shift in ways that defy logic. To persist is to refuse to be moved by what appears to be. It is to hold firm to the truth that assumption creates reality. It is to embody the feeling of already having what you desire so deeply that the outer world has no choice but to conform. The world is obedient to your consciousness. It cannot resist the command of your persistent assumption. Some will argue that persistence is difficult, that doubt is natural, that it is unrealistic to assume success in the face of obstacles. But the difficulty is not in persisting. The difficulty is in allowing doubt to take control. It is doubt that creates struggle. It is disbelief that causes setbacks. If you simply persist in the assumption of success without allowing yourself to be swayed, there is no struggle, only the unfolding of your desired reality. The secret to persistence is to live in the end, to think, feel, and act as if your success is already a present reality. If you assume the feeling of already having what you desire, then there is no need for worry, no need for doubt, no need to question whether it is working. You simply rest in the certainty that it is done. You move through life with the quiet confidence of someone who already possesses their goal. This is true persistence, not effort, not struggle, but unwavering faith. Consider the seed planted in the ground. The farmer does not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. He knows that if he has planted it in fertile soil and watered it consistently, it must grow. He does not worry or question whether it is working. He simply trusts the process. Your assumptions work the same way. The moment you plant the seed of success in your consciousness, you must persist in nourishing it. You must protect it from the weeds of doubt and fear. If you persist, the seed must grow. Some may wonder, how long must I persist? The answer is simple: until your assumption hardens into fact. The time it takes is irrelevant. What matters is that you never waver. For some, the shift happens quickly. For others, it takes time. But time is not the determining factor, persistence is. The stronger your conviction, the faster reality conforms. Those who achieve success effortlessly are those who persist unwaveringly. They do not allow their senses to deceive them. They know that the unseen reality is more real than the visible one, and they trust in that truth without hesitation. The greatest mistake you can make is to give up just before your assumption takes form. Many abandon their assumption when they are on the brink of manifestation. They let doubt creep in at the final moment, reversing all their progress. This is why persistence is so crucial. You must carry your assumption to completion. You must refuse to entertain any thought that contradicts it. If you assume success and persist in that assumption, success must come. This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive thinking. This is the law of consciousness in action. To persist in your assumption is to become unmoved by circumstances. It is to understand that the world is fluid, ever-changing, and entirely obedient to your inner state. If you persist in feeling successful, success will chase you down. If you persist in seeing yourself as wealthy, wealth must find you. If you persist in believing that opportunities come effortlessly, they will appear before you with ease. The choice is always yours. You can persist in old assumptions of lack, struggle, and limitation, or you can persist in the assumption that success is already yours. The world will mirror back to you whatever you choose. There is no force opposing you, only your own doubts. If you have the discipline to persist, you will witness the extraordinary power of assumption unfold in your life. You will realize that success was never something to be achieved, but something to be assumed. And once you assume it and persist in that assumption, the world has no choice but to comply. Everything you have been manifesting is rushing toward you right now. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but it is already here. The world you experience is only a reflection of what you have impressed upon your mind. Look within, for that is where creation begins. There is no separation between you and your desire. Time is only an illusion, a mere construct of the mind that makes you believe in delay. But what if you could drop the illusion? What if you could see that the very thing you long for is already a part of you? The moment you accept it as real, without question, it moves from the unseen into the seen. You do not chase after it, you become it. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption you hold shapes your reality. The universe does not hear your words, it responds to your state of being. If you are waiting, you will continue to wait. If you feel lack, you will see more lack. But if you assume that you already have it, with full conviction, it has no choice but to appear. It rushes to you, drawn by the power of your inner knowing. Close your eyes and feel the reality of your desire fulfilled. Not as something far away, not as something you hope for, but as something already yours. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Step into the scene as if it were happening now, and the world will bend to match that assumption. There is no effort in this, only the quiet certainty that what you are experiencing in imagination must be made manifest. Doubt is the only thing that delays what is already set in motion. The moment you shift into the feeling of knowing, the moment you let go of how or when, everything moves at once. The right people, the right opportunities, the right circumstances align effortlessly. It is not a matter of waiting, it is a matter of realizing that it is done. You are the cause. Your inner world is the source of all that you see. What you have been seeking is not outside of you, it has always been within. Now is the time to claim it. Now is the time to assume the wish fulfilled. And as you do, everything you have been manifesting is rushing toward you faster than you can imagine. What you desire already exists. It is not something far away, not something that needs to be earned or chased. It is here right now, waiting for you to recognize it. The idea that what you seek is separate from you is an illusion created by the mind, a belief reinforced by the physical senses. But your senses only reflect what has already been assumed within. The moment you shift your awareness, the moment you accept that your manifestation is already a reality, it begins to take shape in your world. Every thought you dwell on, every feeling you embrace, every belief you hold with conviction is shaping your experience. The world around you is not fixed, it is fluid, responding to your state of being. When you assume that your desire is already yours, you set unseen forces into motion. It is not a question of if, it is only a question of how quickly you allow yourself to receive it. There is no separation between you and what you have been manifesting. The moment you imagine something clearly, the moment you feel it as real, it is created. In that instant, the unseen begins to align with your assumption. The delay you experience is only due to a lack of full acceptance. When you live in the knowing that what you desire is already here, you remove all barriers. It has no choice but to materialize. The greatest illusion that holds people back is the belief in time. You are being conditioned to think that things take time to manifest, that there is a waiting period between asking and receiving. But time is a construct of the mind, a framework you have accepted as real. In truth, there is only now. If you persist in seeing your desire as something in the future, it will always remain just out of reach. But the moment you shift into the present moment and claim it as yours, the process accelerates. Everything is energy, including your thoughts and emotions. The frequency you operate on determines what you attract. If you continue to think from a state of wanting, you reinforce the lack of it. But if you begin to think from a state of having, everything changes. It is not about forcing things into being. It is about aligning with the version of yourself that already has what you seek. That version of you exists right now. Your desire is not separate from you because it came from within you. The fact that you can imagine it means it is already real on a higher level of consciousness. The mind does not create something from nothing, it reveals what is already there. The act of manifestation is simply the process of bringing the unseen into the seen, of allowing yourself to experience what has always been available to you. Consider this: when you order something online, you do not doubt whether it will arrive. You do not keep checking to see if it exists. You trust that it is on its way. In the same way, when you assume your manifestation is done, you do not need to force it into being. You rest in the knowing that it is already yours, and by doing so, you allow it to unfold effortlessly. Doubt is the only thing that slows the process. The moment you question whether it is happening, you introduce resistance. The universe responds not to your words, but to your inner certainty. If you are constantly asking when it will arrive, you are affirming its absence. But when you accept it as real and live from that state, you collapse all barriers. Many people believe they need to take action to make their desires come true, but action taken from a state of lack only creates more struggle. True inspired action flows naturally from the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. When you embody this mindset, the right opportunities, people, and circumstances present themselves without force. You must become the person who already has what you desire. Think as that person would think, feel as that person would feel, act as that person would act. The world is only a mirror reflecting back to you what you assume to be true about yourself. If you continue to believe you are waiting, the world will confirm that belief. But if you shift into knowing that your manifestation is done, the world will rush to prove you right. There is no need to force anything to happen. There is no need to manipulate circumstances or beg for change. The moment you change within, the world follows. This is why some people seem to attract things effortlessly while others struggle for years. The ones who receive quickly are those who have mastered the art of knowing. They do not hope or wish, they accept. Everything you have been manifesting is already here. It is moving toward you in ways you cannot yet perceive. The more you relax into this truth, the faster it materializes. Let go of the need to control. Let go of the need to check for evidence. Your only task is to remain in the state of fulfillment, to trust in the unseen, to walk in the assumption that it is already done. There is no power outside of you deciding when you receive. You are the creator of your experience. The moment you declare it as real, the universe bends to match your assumption. Believe in the reality of your desire more than you believe in the physical world, and the physical world will rearrange itself to reflect that belief. The world you experience is nothing more than a mirror reflecting your inner state. Everything you see, touch, and feel is a direct manifestation of the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions you hold within yourself. Nothing is happening outside of you, everything originates from within. The circumstances of your life are not random, nor are they imposed upon you by forces beyond your control. They are the result of the state of being you have accepted as true. Your inner world is the cause and your outer world is the effect. When you change how you feel, think, and assume, everything in your external reality shifts to match it. The world does not create your experiences, you do. This understanding is the key to all manifestation. The moment you grasp that your inner state determines everything, you realize you are never a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator. What you believe to be true about yourself and the world becomes your reality. If you believe that life is difficult, that success is hard to achieve, or that love is elusive, then those beliefs will shape your experiences. You will unconsciously seek out and attract situations that confirm these assumptions. But if you shift your beliefs, if you begin to see yourself as someone who is worthy, capable, and already in possession of what you desire, then the world will reflect that back to you. Most people try to change their circumstances by working on the outside. They struggle, they force, they fought against what they do not want, hoping to shape their reality through sheer effort. But the external world is only a reflection. Changing it without first changing within is like trying to alter the image in a mirror without touching the person standing in front of it. The only way to see a new reflection is to become a new version of yourself. Every thought carries a frequency and every emotion amplifies it. When you dwell in states of fear, doubt, or lack, you send out signals that call forth experiences of the same nature. But when you embody states of joy, abundance, and confidence, the world arranges itself to match your inner reality. The shift must happen first within you before it can be seen in your external world. Your assumptions about life dictate what you experience. If you assume that money is hard to come by, you will encounter endless proof of financial struggle. If you assume that you are always overlooked or unappreciated, you will find people treating you that way. But if you assume that you are abundant, that opportunities flow effortlessly, that love and respect are your natural state, then your life will transform. It is not magic, it is simply the law of consciousness in action. The world is neutral, it does not decide what to give you. It only reflects back what you are consistently holding in your mind and heart. There is no force outside of you determining your success, happiness, or fulfillment. The only thing that matters is your dominant inner state. If you want to see change, you must embody the feeling of already having what you desire. Most people allow the outer world to dictate how they feel. They react to circumstances, believing that their emotions are caused by external events. But this is an illusion. Your emotions are not a response to the world, they are the creators of it. When you stop reacting and start deliberately choosing your inner state, you step into your true power. Imagine for a moment that everything you desire is already yours. Not in the future, not something you need to work for, but something that is already done. How would you feel? How would you think? How would you move through the world? That version of you exists now. The only thing separating you from it is your belief in its absence. The moment you accept it as real, the outer world will begin to shift in ways you cannot yet comprehend. It is not enough to merely think about your desires, you must feel them as if they are already yours. Thought alone is weak, but thought combined with feeling is unstoppable. If you say you are abundant but feel lack, the feeling will always win. If you say you are loved but feel unworthy, the feeling will dominate. But when your thoughts and feelings align with your desired state, you become an unstoppable force of creation. You do not have to force your desires into existence. You do not have to struggle or beg. The moment you truly embody the state of fulfillment, everything moves to bring that reality into being. You will be inspired to take the right actions, meet the right people, and encounter the right circumstances effortlessly. The world will shift, not because you pushed it, but because you changed within. There is no randomness in life. Every event, every meeting, every opportunity is a reflection of your inner state. If you do not like what you see, do not fight against it, change within. Shift your dominant thoughts, embrace new beliefs, and dwell in the feelings of your wish fulfilled. The world has no choice but to mirror your new state. Most people live in a state of reaction. They see things they do not like, and they focus on them, unknowingly reinforcing their presence. But you are not here to react, you are here to create. The moment you stop reacting to the world and start dictating your inner state, you step into the role of the creator. You decide what you experience by choosing how you feel. When you wake up each day, you have a choice. You can let the world dictate your emotions, or you can decide in advance how you want to feel. The secret to manifestation is consistency. It is not about momentary bursts of positive thinking, it is about dwelling persistently in the state of your desired reality. The longer you remain in that state, the faster it hardens into fact. There is no need to seek validation from the external world. The world cannot give you what you are unwilling to claim within yourself. You must first see yourself as the person who already has it. When you do, reality will bend to match that assumption. You are never waiting for the world to change. The world is waiting for you to change. Every great change begins in the unseen, in the quiet moments of thought and feeling. The results may not appear instantly, but they are forming. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil before it emerges, your desires are unfolding in ways beyond your perception. Trust in the unseen. Trust in the power of your inner state. The greatest power you have is the ability to assume a new state of being. The moment you do, everything moves to match it. The outer world is only a reflection. Change within, and the reflection will follow. There is a power moving through you, a force greater than any limitation, a presence that responds to your every assumption. This power does not operate through struggle or effort, it works through belief. The moment you fully accept something as true, reality aligns itself to reflect that truth. The outer world is never separate from you. It is always a reflection of the assumptions you hold within. Most people live in a state of waiting. They wait for signs, for proof, for circumstances to shift before they allow themselves to believe. But manifestation does not work this way. The external world does not bring you what you desire first. It is your inner conviction that brings it forth. When you stop waiting and start assuming, everything begins to move in response to your new state of being. Imagine for a moment that everything you desire already exists, not as something distant, not as something you must earn, but as something present and real. The only thing keeping it from appearing before you is your attachment to the idea that it is separate from you. The moment you release this illusion, the moment you truly feel that it is already done, the world rearranges itself in ways beyond your comprehension. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It only responds to the state you occupy most consistently. When you assume something to be true, when you fully accept it in your heart and mind, your subconscious accepts it as fact. Once that happens, everything begins shifting to match that new belief. You will find yourself drawn to the right opportunities, meeting the right people, taking the right actions, not because you are forcing it, but because you have become the version of yourself who naturally experiences that reality. Most people believe they must see results before they can feel successful, abundant, or loved. But this is the great misunderstanding. You must first feel it within, regardless of what the external world shows you. If you look at the world and say, "I will believe it when I see it," you are placing the effect before the cause. But the truth is the opposite. You will see it when you believe it. Your feelings are the key. Thought alone is not enough. You cannot simply affirm something intellectually while feeling doubt and expect change. The dominant feeling you carry is what manifests. If you say you are abundant but feel lack, it is lack that will continue to materialize. If you say you are loved but feel unworthy, the feeling will always override the words. But the moment you dwell in the feeling of already having what you desire, the moment you make it real within yourself, the world must shift to match it. Think about how you react to the things you already know to be true. You do not doubt them. You do not question whether or not they will happen. You simply accept them. This is the state you must reach when manifesting. When you assume that what you desire is already yours, without hesitation, without contradiction, without effort, you will find yourself living in the experience of it. There is no effort in belief. When you truly believe something, it becomes natural. You do not struggle to convince yourself, you simply know. This is why it is important to move beyond words and into feeling. Instead of merely saying, "I am successful," embody the feeling of success. Instead of saying, "I am abundant," feel the security, the joy, the freedom that comes with abundance. Instead of saying, "I am loved," immerse yourself in the deep knowing that love is already yours. The world will move in ways you cannot predict. You do not need to know how your manifestation will unfold. You do not need to plan every step. Your only task is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The moment you surrender to this inner reality, the unseen forces of creation take over. People, events, and opportunities begin aligning effortlessly. What seemed impossible suddenly becomes inevitable. The biggest obstacle to manifestation is doubt. The mind is conditioned to look at appearances, to question, to seek reassurance. But the moment you engage in doubt, you affirm the absence of what you desire. Doubt is simply faith in the wrong direction. The key is to remain steadfast in your assumption, regardless of what your senses tell you. The more you persist in the state of knowing, the faster the world conforms to match it. Nothing is outside of you. Every circumstance, every experience, every encounter is an expression of your inner world. If you do not like what you see, do not fight it, change within. Stop reacting to the external world as if it has power over you. It does not. You are the cause. You are the source. The moment you shift internally, reality must follow. There is no force holding your desires back from you. The only thing that keeps them at a distance is the belief that they are not yet yours. The moment you release that belief, the moment you step into the certainty that it is already done, everything accelerates. The world moves, people respond differently, doors open and paths clear. You may not always see how things are unfolding, but you must trust that they are. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil before it breaks through the surface, your manifestations are taking form in the unseen before they appear in the visible. Do not be swayed by temporary appearances. What you see now is only a reflection of past assumptions. The moment you shift your state, the reflection must change. You are not small. You are not separate from the creative power of the universe. Everything you seek is already within you, waiting to be claimed. The moment you claim it, not with desperation, not with force, but with quiet certainty, the entire universe moves in response. There is no delay, no waiting period, no external approval needed. The world simply reflects your state of being. Let go of struggle. Let go of effort. Let go of the need to control the process. The only thing required of you is to assume the feeling of already having what you desire. Live in that state. Dwell in that certainty. Feel it deeply, fully, completely. The moment you do, everything rushes toward you with unstoppable momentum. There is a sacred truth that governs all of creation. Your imagination is the blueprint of reality. Every experience, every circumstance, every event in your life is nothing more than a reflection of what you have impressed upon your mind. The world outside of you is not separate from you. It is merely a projection of what you accept as true within. The greatest misconception people hold is that reality exists independently of their awareness, that they are at the mercy of fate or external forces. But in truth, the world bends to your assumptions. It is not the external world that shapes your thoughts, but rather your thoughts that shape the external world. The act of imagining is not just a passive daydream, it is a creative force. Every time you enter a state of deep, vivid imagination, you are planting seeds that must bear fruit in the material world. There is no difference between the inner world and the outer world except for time. What you consistently imagine, feel, and assume must become visible, just as a planted seed must grow into a tree. This is not speculation or wishful thinking, it is law. The imagination is the workshop of creation, the sacred space where the unseen takes form and becomes the tangible. Most people misuse their imagination without realizing it. They allow fear, doubt, and limitation to dictate their inner world. And then they wonder why their lives reflect struggle. They assume the worst, dwell on past failures, and entertain visions of lack and hardship. In doing so, they unknowingly reinforce and recreate the very circumstances they wish to escape. The mind is always creating, it does not pause. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are in a constant state of imagination. The only question is whether you are directing it consciously or allowing it to run on autopilot, governed by old beliefs and reactions. To manifest the life you desire, you must take control of this creative process. You must discipline your imagination and use it with intention. The world will not change simply because you wish it to. It will change because you have impressed a new vision upon the subconscious. And once that vision is impressed, the world has no choice but to conform. This is why it is not enough to simply want something. You must assume the costume of already having it. You must enter the state of the wish fulfilled so completely that it becomes your reality, even before the outer world reflects it. Every great achievement, every success, every breakthrough first existed in the mind before it became reality. The great inventors, artists, and leaders of history did not wait for proof before they believed in their vision. They saw what others could not see, held onto it with conviction, and then brought it into existence. The same principle applies to you. Your imagination is the key to unlocking the reality you desire, and once you fully embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the world will move to bring it into form. The process is simple but requires faith. It begins by deciding what you truly desire, not from a place of lack, but from a place of knowing that it is already yours. Once you have clarity, close your eyes and construct a vivid scene that implies your desire is fulfilled. Do not imagine yourself wanting it, imagine yourself already having it. Feel it, engage with it, make it real. See the details, hear the sounds, touch the textures. Most importantly, allow yourself to feel the joy, the gratitude, the satisfaction of already possessing it. When the feeling becomes natural, when you can immerse yourself in the experience without doubt, you have successfully planted the seed. Many make the mistake of imagining their desire only to then return to a state of doubt and worry. They look at their current reality and allow it to dictate what they believe is possible. But this is like planting a seed and then digging it up to check if it is growing. The moment you entertain doubt, you are uprooting your manifestation. You must persist in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, regardless of appearances. The world may not shift immediately, but that does not mean it is not shifting. The unseen forces are already at work, aligning circumstances in ways beyond your comprehension. Your only job is to remain faithful to the vision, knowing that it must come to pass. Your imagination is the doorway to every possibility. Nothing is too big, too far, or too difficult when you understand this truth. The only limitations that exist are the ones you accept as real. If you believe something is impossible, you make it so. If you believe something is inevitable, it must come to you. The world does not argue with your beliefs, it simply reflects them. When you step into the certainty that your vision is real, when you allow your imagination to take the lead, you become the master of your reality. Everything in life is first imagined before it is experienced. A home is built only after it has been envisioned. A journey is taken only after it has been conceived in the mind. A relationship is formed only after the idea of it has taken root within. This is the natural order of creation, and it applies to all things. If you wish to change your life, you must begin by changing the images you hold within. If you desire success, imagine yourself already successful. If you desire love, imagine yourself already deeply loved. If you desire abundance, immerse yourself in the feeling of already possessing all that you need. The more you dwell in these states, the more natural they become, and the faster they materialize. Imagination does not require effort, it requires surrender. The moment you stop trying to force things and instead surrender to the knowing that it is already done, you release resistance. The universe is not working against you, it is responding to you. When you shift your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to follow. There is no separation. The moment you stop questioning, doubting, or waiting, and instead live in the certainty of your imagined reality, manifestation becomes effortless. Time is not an obstacle. The only thing that determines how quickly a desire manifests is the degree of faith you have in its reality. If you believe something will take years, it will take years. If you believe it can happen now, it will happen now. Time is fluid, and reality conforms to your assumptions. There are countless stories of people who have seen their desires manifest almost instantly the moment they truly accepted them as real. There are also those who spend years waiting because they have placed their faith in delay rather than immediacy. The choice is always yours. Nothing is stopping you from stepping into your new reality except the belief that you must wait. The moment you drop that belief, the moment you claim your desire is already yours, the floodgates open. The people, events, and circumstances required for its fulfillment will be drawn to you like a magnet. Paths will clear, doors will open, and what once seemed impossible will now appear effortless. This is the power of imagination. When you recognize that your imagination is the only reality, you free yourself from the limitations of the external world. You no longer react to circumstances, you create them. You no longer seek validation, you embody certainty. You no longer chase after desires, you receive them. The world outside of you is nothing but a mirror. And when you take control of your inner vision, the reflection must change. This is the great secret. Everything is already within you. The power is not outside of you, it is in your ability to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. The moment you embrace this truth, the moment you surrender to your imagination without hesitation or doubt, the entire universe bends to your will. What you seek is already seeking you. What you imagine is already yours. The only question is, will you claim it now? The moment you assume something as true, reality begins to shift in ways beyond your conscious understanding. There is no waiting period, no external approval required. The world does not question whether you are worthy of your desire, it only mirrors back to you the state you persist in. The key to mastering this process lies in understanding that every assumption, once fully accepted, sets unseen forces into motion. The entire fabric of reality is designed to conform to your beliefs, and the speed at which your desires manifest is directly tied to how unwavering you are in your assumption. Doubt is the only thing that delays what is already yours. The mind that questions, that looks for signs, that waits for proof, is the mind that creates barriers. There is nothing to prove. There is no one to convince. The only task is to persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, that it is already done, that there is no separation between you and what you have imagined. The moment you drop the habit of waiting, the moment you stop looking for confirmation outside of yourself, you will see the evidence unfold naturally. Most people misunderstand the role of effort in manifestation. They believe that hard work, struggle, and sacrifice are necessary components of achievement. But what they fail to realize is that effort, when born from a place of disbelief, only reinforces the assumption that what they want is distant. The truth is, nothing is difficult when you fully accept that it is already yours. A person who assumes themselves to be wealthy does not wake up wondering if they will receive money. They simply move through life with the inner knowing that wealth is their natural state. A person who assumes themselves to be loved does not seek reassurance or chase after affection. They naturally attract experiences that reflect their belief in their own worth. The outer world follows the inner world, and when the inner world is firmly established, the outer must align. Everything is happening right now. There is no such thing as a future in the way most people think of it. The future is simply the unfolding of the present moment based on what you have already assumed to be true. If you persist in an assumption long enough, it solidifies into form, not because of time, but because your consciousness has fully accepted it. Time is an illusion that makes manifestation appear gradual, but in reality, everything exists simultaneously. The only reason something has not yet appeared in your world is that you have not fully claimed it in your consciousness. The moment you do, it rushes toward you with a speed that will leave you in awe. The world is not created, only rearranges itself to match your state of being. Nothing new is ever truly created, rather possibilities that already exist become visible as your state of consciousness shifts. The person who assumes success does not create opportunities out of thin air. They simply move into alignment with circumstances that have always been present, but were previously. The person who assumes health does not force their body into healing. They shift into the version of themselves where health is already their natural state. Nothing needs to be forced. Nothing needs to be chased, only assumed. The assumption is the key that unlocks the door to the reality you wish to experience. The greatest challenge for most people is not imagining their desire, but sustaining the state of already having it. The mind is conditioned to react to appearances, to be swayed by what seems to be rather than what truly is. But manifestation is not about reacting, it is about directing. When you learn to remain faithful to your assumption, even when external circumstances suggest otherwise, you will see how quickly the world bends in your favor. The moment you stop checking, stop questioning, stop doubting, the floodgates open. Reality has no choice but to give you exactly what you have claimed as yours. This is why faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not mere wishful thinking, it is the certainty that what you have imagined is already in motion. It is the unwavering trust that even before the evidence appears, the reality is set. Most people believe in what they can see, but those who understand this truth believe in what they have assumed. They do not wait for proof, because they know their assumption is the proof. They do not question when or how things will unfold, because they understand that it is already done. To embody this truth, one must become indifferent to appearances. The moment you allow yourself to be disturbed by what seems to be, you weaken your assumption. The outer world is always a reflection of past assumptions, and if you react to it, you reinforce its hold on you. But if you learn to ignore appearances and persist in your new state, the outer world will have no choice but to shift. It is law. Nothing can defy it. The external world is not separate from you, it is an extension of your inner state. Change the state, and the reflection must follow. Manifestation happens in the silence, in the unseen, in the moments when you are completely absorbed in the feeling of already having what you desire. The conscious mind may not understand how it happens, but the subconscious does not question, it only accepts. This is why sleep is such a powerful state for impressing the subconscious. As you drift into sleep, the conscious mind fades and the subconscious is left open to receive whatever impression you give it. If you go to sleep in the state of the wish fulfilled, you impress upon the subconscious the reality of desire, and it begins to materialize in ways you could never predict. The most effortless manifestations occur when you no longer see your desire as something separate from you. The moment you claim it as your own, as your natural state, the effort disappears. It is only when you see it as distant, as something to attain, that struggle arises. But the truth is, you do not attain, you embody. You do not chase, you become. The assumption is the bridge between imagination and reality, and once crossed, the physical world must follow. Most people make the mistake of thinking they must create something new, but the reality they seek already exists. Every possibility, every outcome, every version of your life is already present within the infinite field of consciousness. You are not creating, you are selecting. The state you occupy determines the reality you experience, and the moment you move into a new state, the corresponding reality must unfold. It does not matter how long you have lived in limitation, how long you have accepted lack, or how long you have believed in struggle. The moment you shift your assumption, the entire universe reorganizes itself to match your new state. Everything you have been manifesting is not coming to you, it is already here. The delay is only in your recognition of it. The moment you stop searching, stop longing, stop believing it is distant, you will see that it was always within reach. Your assumption is the command that reality obeys, and the moment you make a firm decision to accept your desire as already fulfilled, it will rush toward you with a force that cannot be denied. The power is not outside of you, it has always been within. The key is not in effort, struggle, or waiting, it is in knowing. And when you truly know that your desire is already yours, when you live from that knowing with absolute certainty, reality has no choice but to comply. Everything is now. Everything is done. Everything is unfolding exactly as you have assumed. The only question that remains is whether you will finally accept it.